right. Audio looks to be on. Hello, everybody. How's it going? How are we all doing today? Thank you guys for joining me on this Tuesday. We got about 12 minutes before I guess things are officially supposed to be announced. But thank you for joining me on this live stream. We're going to be doing a little watch party on the young camera company on the block, and that of course is the Kinefinity. They're getting ready to announce. Well, first, it looked like it was going to be one camera, but now it's going to be looking like they're going to be announcing two cameras today. There's a couple that it looks like it's sort of been leaked already. It looks like one is going to be, both of them are sort of replacements of the original Mavos. So the original Mavo Super 35 and the original Mavo LF, which I'll get to the LF version in a second. But yeah, but all of these are going to be the replacement, the Mark IIs of these with brand new bodies that are similar to the Edge. Both of them are going to be 6K. I believe the Mavo Super 35 Mark II is going to be able to shoot 6K up to 96 frames per second. So if you're looking for high resolution and speed, that's probably going to be the one you want to go with. But that was going to be on the Super 35. The Mavo LF Mark II is going to be shoot 6K as well, but I believe it's going to top out at 75 frames per second. Still a pretty good, still pretty decent frame rates, but that's going to have the large full frame format, and those are going to be in the L body. Let me know how I sound. I'm doing a different audio setup today, so let's see who is in chat. Stuart is here. Hey, Stuart, how's it going? Yeah, just the respect. So, the Mavo Edge 8K. Yep. Yeah, it is an amazing camera. So, but that's not one of the cameras. And I believe Trey Hall. Well, also welcome to the channel. No, that's so what Stuart is talking about. And I'll go back to that. Is not one of the new cameras that's going to be announced. That's actually the first camera that they released along their Edge line, their high-end cinema camera lines. This one's been out for well over a year now. But yeah, it can shoot 6K, 12-bit ProRes 444, all internally. It records it to probably some of the fastest media. It actually shoots to the fastest SSDs. Well, some of the fastest SSDs. It's MV.M2. I can't remember the specific name, but it's like super fast. It's faster than regular SSDs that we see on like the Atomos and things like that. But it can capture 12-bit 444 ProRes internally, 8K up to, I believe, if you're using the actual 3.2, it's like up to 55 frames a second, which for a 3.2 8K sensor, that's actually pretty impressive. And then it also, if you crop into the wide or like the 2:3, 2:39.1 aspect ratio, it goes to 8K up to 75 frames a second, which again, pretty impressive. But yeah, that's not one of the cameras they're going to announce today. That is actually one that is going to be coming. Oh, it looks like it's got low sound, so let me see if I can boost this. So I'm gonna boost this for a sec. How's this sound? Let's go. Let's crank it up more. How do I sound now? Hopefully I sound a lot better. Again, apologies. I'm using a different sound. So this hopefully this should pick up, and maybe I'll bring this up a little bit more so people can hear me a little bit better. Hopefully I sound better now. So, all right. James, hey, fellow James, welcome to the channel, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks for doing this. Kinefinity is such an intriguing company. Love their cameras and hyped that you're doing the stream. Yeah, I'm super excited. They are just from a filmmaker, especially for me, that is more of a DP, more of a cinematographer than necessarily a director. So the technical aspects of filmmaking is what fascinates me the most. And Kinefinity, actually, out of all the camera companies, including Red, including Ari, Canon, Sony, they probably have the most interesting technology out of all of them if you actually go through it. Like they have like their cameras are pretty pretty incredible. Like one of the cool things is that they have this feature in the camera where you can actually manipulate the latitude, where you can move some of your dynamic range into the highlights, or you can move some of your dynamic range in the shadows, but middle gray still stays the same. So you can adjust your latitude based on the scene that you want. It's called ice. Highlight control. If you use the ISO mode, it's called highlight control, which is again really cool. The fact that they got electronic NDs, their mount system, which also is a thing that is apparently new with this. We got a couple minutes before everything's supposed to officially drop. But yeah, Kinefinity is a very intriguing camera company. It's just I know from their previous gen, especially I got I got to hold their Mavo LF. There's some there's some quality controls definitely with that camera that I could see why it was an issue. And one of the other big issues with Kinefinity was the fact that there wasn't a built-in supports in the US or a merchant vendor in the U.S., but now all that changed. Now that B&H actually stocks in their cameras, as well as they got a support base in, I believe it's Burbank, California. So now they got both of those issues resolved. So that is really great. Okay, let's see who else is. So Trey Hall. Yep. All right. You ever watch Gappa Gear sample footage with Kinefinity? The looks he's able to do are awesome. Yeah, actually, I don't know if any of you guys actually seen any of some of the sample footage when I was doing like grades and talking about using color space transform for cameras that are not necessarily have their color space, their gamma and color science in DaVinci natively. Kinefinity was one of them, and actually Gappa Gear sample footage was the footage I used. I love them. And if you ever get a chance for anybody, if you guys are really interested in Kinefinity and actually learning just the technicalities, I highly encourage you guys to go check out his web page. And he posts a whole bunch of forums on a lot of technical things that can really help you with knowledge. Recently, he just posted an article that really delved into the technicalities of latitude performances and sensors. Since, of course, we all care about dynamic range. We love seeing Cindy D and Gerald and Dunn's video when they do their dynamic range tests. And he really, and Gappa Gear really goes deep into the sensors. So I definitely tell you to check it out. You may actually be surprised at how some cameras sensors perform, and some of them are better, and some that have been touted as like leading as not bad, just at the average state. I'll just say that, but definitely go read it out. Borderland Films, what's up? Thank you for joining. Okay, Love Kinefinity. Is the new camera announced yet? Officially, no, it has not. Let me refresh just to make sure I'm not missing it. It looks like there isn't, but again, there are two. It's two cameras, and I think YC Semina sort of gave the leak, but let me just cut to this. But right now, as you'll see here, it looks like they're going to be announcing two different size sensor cameras, and from the rumors or from what the leaks are saying, it's going to be upgrades to the Mavo S35 and the Mavo LF, which the Mavo LF is a weird one to me since the Mavo Edge 8K is kind of what the Mavo LF Mark II is. So I'm really curious to see what makes this different than the Edge 6K, because the Edge 6K is using the exact same sensor as the Mavo LF. So maybe it's a new sensor. I don't know, but I am really interested to see what makes this camera different. So let me see if I can find, let's see here, YC Cinema. Let me, Yeah, here we go. All right, so this is the article. Big shout outs to YC Cinema for this. So this is these are going to be the new announcement that they're going to be. So Kinefinity introduces 2 new cinema cameras, the Mavo 6K Mark II LF and Super 35. So Kinefinity has just unveiled the new Super 35 and large format 6K cinema cameras titled Mavo Mark II S35. Weird, interesting naming. And Mavo Mark II LF. These cameras incorporate advanced technology integration for high-end productions with much more affordable price tag. All right, the new Kinefinity cameras is equipped with a new 6K Super 35 imaging sensor, and its frame rates is up to 96 frames per second in 6K. Now that is the wide format, if I remember correctly. And due to the native and its dual native ISO is 800 and 3200. So it seems like it's improved. The Super 35 version is an improved dual native ISO. The LF incorporates a full frame 3.2 CMOS sensor from the Edge 6K, which I'm sorry, isn't the Edge 6K sensor the same 6K sensor that's in the Mavo LF? So that seems to me, if correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, that sounds to me like they're saying it's the same sensor as the previous Mavo LF, but maybe I'm wrong somewhere. And if someone or Gappa Gear or anybody else is here, let me know. All right, so integrates, but it's high-end. The Mavo's Mark II adopts the high-end edge performance outputting computer output, integrates industry standard ports, dual SDI, but metadata encoding output ProRes for basically all the stuff from the edge. Let's see here. It's like coming in a lightweight compact body with streamless. So basically the edge bodies, as stated by Kinefinity, back to classic Super 35 formats. Uses 35 glass, widely available. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, the LF best on the Edge 6K. It's basically the Edge 6K. So all right, here's something interesting. So there's a new lens mount. According to Kinefinity, the Mavo Mark II offers more comprehensive lens options with the introduction of a new mount. In addition to keeping the exclusive Kine mount that is very convenient for switching mount adapters, including EF, PL, and LPL adapters without tools, the Mavo Mark II provides 2 new lens mounts, the Active PL mount and Active E mount. Users can install and detach the active mounts without extra flange distance calibrations. The 2 active mounts features reliability in a cine-style locking mechanisms. Kinefinity says and adds, the Mavo Mark II with Active E mount can support most of the modern and lightweight E lenses instantly. It allows users to tune the iris focal length and focus on electronic lenses in camera controls or manually. Also, the lens optical stabilization can be activated if the lens has the option. Okay, so that's kind of huge. That's probably the big thing about these guys is the fact that now we are going to we're going to have a new mount system. I hope these will be incorporated in both the Edge 8K and the Edge 6K because that now is going to be really awesome. The fact that you can now use actual, like, if you want to, if you have like a set of photography e-glass, you can now use them. The fact that the lens stabilization works on those, that's going to really up the ante and really improve the user-friendly and performances with these cameras. I'm really curious to see how you're supposed to focus in camera and how that's going to work, because as far as I know, they don't have autofocus. So I'm really curious to see how they would do it there. So it's definitely interested to see. Let's see if there's a video. Let me see if I can. Let's look up Kinefinity. Let's see if there's something on YouTube. Well, it looks like Pro AV TV has put something together. So I am going to mute myself. I'm going to mute myself, and then I'm going to put on Pro AV TV. So let me go ahead and let's see, so we can get a little bit more about what is going on here. So give me 1 second.
Today, Kinefinity have announced the Mavo LF Mark II and the Mavo Super 35 Mark II. These serve as both replacements for their previous Mavo lineup, of course, but also in some ways an expansion for their Edge lineup as well, as these share a lot of the features that actually make those high-end cameras so great. In fact, there are a lot of similarities to the Edge 8K and 6K. They're effectively the same camera system really, just with a few features missing in order to, of course, keep that price lower. There's no built-in END, one SSD media slot rather than two, and slightly less ports. There's no Ethernet and no power outputs on the body itself, when the Edge cameras have a DTAP and a 3-pin LEMO. So losing those features is of course sad, especially the END. That would probably be the one I'd miss the most. But what's left once you take those away is still a pretty impressively feature-rich camera system with ProRes 444XQ recording to SSD media, fantastic frame rate options, anamorphic options, flexible power solutions, and easily the most flexible lens mount system on the market, all at a much lower price than the Edge cameras. These are some pretty high-end cameras now for a very decent price. So let's look at what the two cameras can actually do. The Mavo LF Mark II has the same sensor as the Edge 6K, which is very similar to the original Mavo LF, just with some tweaking in order to improve the highlight performance. The Mavo Super 35 though has a completely new sensor for Kinefinity, and considering it's the lowest priced of all four cameras here, I think it could actually be one of the most interesting. Both now have a dual native ISO. The LF has the same 800 and 5120 ISOs as the previous version, and the Super 35 now has 800 and 3200. So the LF will get you better low light performance as you'd expect, but the Super 35 should be far improved over the original. The LF also has the same frame rate as the original and the Edge 6K, so up to 75 frames a second in 6K wide and 140 frames a second in 4K wide if you crop in. But the Super 35 is also much improved here and can get up to 96 frames a second in 6K wide, which is pretty impressive stuff. Kinefinity is saying that both sensors have over 14 stops of dynamic range, and that both are improved over the previous generation, especially in terms of highlight performance. So I'm looking forward to putting them to the test once we can actually get our hands on them. And they should both have very good rolling shutter performance as well, because of the fast sensor readout speeds. The Super 35mm version, for example, should, in theory, be able to achieve about 11 milliseconds in rolling shutter tests. Another change Kinefinity have made to these cameras is the way that the lens mounts work. Previous cameras have a native Kine mount and then a range of adapters to convert that mount to EF, PL or passive E mount. It's a great system as it lets you change between those lens mounts really quickly. And it's still here. You can get these cameras with a Kine mount on and use those exact same adapters. But they also now let you screw that Kine mount off the camera and replace it with an active PL or an active E mount instead. These attach directly to the front of the camera with 4 locking screws for a very robust fit and can be shimmed as well if needed. Technically, the Edge cameras can do this as well, so now that these mounts have been released, there's nothing to stop Edge 6K and Edge 8K owners using these as well. But when buying a Mavo LF or Super 35 Mark II from scratch, you now have quite a lot of options and several decisions to make. Do you get a Kine mount and use the same adapter so that you can change between lens mounts really quickly? Or do you get an active E mount and just treat it as an E mount camera? Or maybe if you only really are interested in PL, perhaps you're a rental company or shooting a narrative feature, just go for that active PL mount. That'll be exactly what you need and really robust and strong. There's lots of options here, which is always a great thing. I don't think there's a camera platform on the market which is quite as flexible as this one when it comes to lenses. There's a lot more to talk about with these cameras, of course. I'm sure we'll be able to get one in our hands soon enough so that we can go over them in much more depth. But if you already know you want one, you can pre-order them over at proav.co.uk and let us know what you think of the Mavo Super 35 and Mavo LF Mark II in the comments section.
Okay, so there we go. So those are the two cameras that came out. Very interesting, very intriguing, very intriguing. Let me know what you guys think about this. I just went on to B&H. So here's the price for those, because I don't know if you guys caught the price. So the Mavo Edge S35, the Mark II S35 will be coming at a price of $3,999. So $4,000 for the Super 35 version, and then the new Mark II LF version will be coming in at $6,999. So $4,000 for the Super 35, $6,000 for the large format version. And I'm trying to see if there's, it doesn't at this right now look like, so there looks like there's something called an Agile Pack. The Agile Pack for the S35, which is going to be like, I guess they're basic, like the kit, like the startup kit, that's going to be about $6,300. And then for the Mark II LF, that is going to be $8,300 for basically the get you started setup kit. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. The fact that I was wondering what is going to make these cameras so different, and I guess it's the fact that they took a lot of the things that I was really, really loving about the Edge lines, but I guess they did it just to sort of keep things in place. I don't know how this is going to work, but I mean, it's still pretty competitively priced when you got a Super 35 at $4,000, $6,300 when you get it in an up and running package set. The fact that it does have that they now built these new mount systems that are active as from PL and E. Huge. I think those are going to be huge, and I think that's what's going to really make these things pop. But let me see what you guys saw. Let's start. Site B Studios, thank you for joining. How do you compare their cameras with Blackmagic? It's a hard comparison. As far as I know, these newer cameras don't have RAW capabilities like the Blackmagics do. That's because there's the legal things with Red, as well. So y'all probably know why ProRes RAW wasn't in the Edge series of cameras. I know they're supposed to be trying to put Cinema DNG. I don't know if Cinema DNG is in the Edge yet, but maybe they'll be there as well as here. So you have to think about that when you're looking at it compared to the Blackmagic cameras. But I will say this in terms of form factors. The Ursa's form factor definitely still work in cinemas, but I would say the form factor, I think, is a much more appealing. And the fact that especially the Edge line has a lot more complete packages with like electronic NDs, like the fact that you could shoot they have full frame options. You don't get those with Blackmagic cameras. But there is, from everybody I've talked to, and from my small minor experience of like handling like the original LF, can't say that about the Edge or the new Edge cameras or even this cameras, but there were some discussions of quality control, but it looks like Kinefinity has gotten better. There's also cool technological features. I don't know if I brought this up, you were here when I talked to Studio, but they have this really cool feature where you can actually manipulate the dynamic range of the camera. You can't get more dynamic range, but you could move the latitude where you could put more of your dynamic range into highlights. If you need more highlight roll off, you can move it into the shadows if you need more shadows without affecting middle grade. So there's a lot of cool things going in. Dennis, hey, how's it going, man? Probably still the same Sony IMX410 sensor by the looks of it. The Super 35 one may be a completely different one, but it looks like the LF version is going to be the same. Brian, yo, what up? Guys, if you haven't, make sure to go check out Brian, also aka Loud and Clear, he does live streams. Definitely goes in, especially if you're someone who's into real estate photography. He's a great tool to have. I love joining in and chiming in on his live stream, so definitely check him out. Let's see here. The AK is still the same Panasonic AK sensor from the S1R uses, but just much more modest. Yep. Carlos, hey, the man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Carlos? How you doing? Thanks for coming by, man. If you also another great YouTuber, uh, Carlos is gives it to you how it is, and he's not afraid to say it, which is what I love about him. Me and him have had so much great conversations and just understanding. If you definitely want to understand, things that people look for in on a professional level when it comes to filmmaking, Carlos is a great channel to have. So definitely check his out as well. Yeah, and I think I mentioned the prices. See, why you gotta go there, Carlos? Man, who knows? Maybe I think they did. I think they said I think they said the AK was like 11 stops. Who knows? But again, if you haven't read Jeremy, aka Gapta Gears article on dynamic range, please read it. Especially when it comes to these cameras, please read it. It gives a lot of insight to a lot of things. As much as I want to hate the idea of a Chinese cinema camera, at the same time, I've seen for years how well DJI drones work. So there's that. Yeah. No, but hey, look, there's something to be said. For me, I just look at the technology and the use case. I'll deal with the geopolitical aspect of it when need be, if I ever need be. But look, these camera companies, they're coming, and they're coming with some heavy tech. And as a filmmaker, I'm excited by these things. No idea about the Super 35 sensor though. Wondering if it's the same sensor Fuji uses with the XH2S with 14-bit readout. From what, at least I know with the previous Super 35, they did not have, it's not the same one that the Fuji has. As far as I'm concerned, all of them are 12-bit readout. All their sensors are 12-bit readout, but I could be wrong. All right. MXM Leo, hey, what's up, man? Thank you for joining. I do wish Kinefinity has a lot of success, which is always good for the market. However, I fear without built-in indies, most people will still go to Blackmagic. I think people are. I agree, but I don't agree. I agree that most people will still go to without Blackmagic. I think the electronic indie would have definitely helped them, but at the same time, I think it's more the fact of it's a name recognition. Right now, many people know Blackmagic at this point in time. A lot of people know of Blackmagic. But I will just be honest, Blackmagic has to come with some new ergo design. I'm hoping we'll see something this year for Blackmagic, but they keep it close to the chest, which I respect entirely of Blackmagic. So the only thing I can say is hope. We can only hope. Let's see. Okay, so Dennis is saying if the S35 comes with the H2S sensor, it will be far superior over the Pocket 6K with its outdated slow Sony sensor. That is true, and I think that hopefully it isn't updated, but we shall see. But the fact that it does shoot 96 frames a second in the 6K mode, which does outperform even the Pocket Cinema cameras, even the 6Ks. But it just will be interesting to see how the features that were taken away, the fact that it's only one SD card slot, the fact that there's no built-in NDs. It will be, yeah, it will be interesting. So Dennis, I don't think City D ever tested the 8K Kinefinity. The sensor is capable of delivering proper 12 stops of signal to noise ratio 2. Yeah, as I mentioned before, Gaffengear did a great job covering this, and he actually did an article a while back. If you go to his website. He did a while back where he went into exclusive technical details of explaining sensors, explaining how sensors read things, and the benefits that the AK, especially the Mavo Edge AK, can bring in terms of latitude performance. Blackmagic needs autofocus or they're dead. Uh it I don't think so, Brian. I'm not so sure, only because I know because I speak to them all the time. There is a strong support base for Blackmagic. That it's a set of people that almost they will not move from Blackmagic. They were there when they started out and nobody kind of really took them seriously, and but the fact that Blackmagic was one of the camera companies that got people professional tools at a very aggressive price point when nobody else was doing that at the time. Like, that's even with all the quirks and everything, people will stand by them. And trust me, I said there's a cult of Blackmagic. I know there's. I just don't believe their support will dwindle. I do think they do need to update it. I don't know if autofocus is going to break them. They may not gain more bases from like the Canon folks or the Sony folks, or even the Panasonic. But I don't think their base is going to dwindle. Their base has been with them from the beginning, and I know personally they're not moving. So we'll see. We'll see. I just want to personally, for me, I would love to just see Blackmagic just give us a new body design and and see if they can maybe dabble into full frame, large format cameras. That's what I would just love to see from Blackmagic. Will we see it? That is yet to be determined. Let's see here. So is this Dennis? Are you reading this somewhere? So you're 11 milliseconds in open gate, same as the Fuji X-H2S and 14-bit readout. Is that confirmed, Dennis? If is that confirmed? Let me know and let us know if it is confirmed. Where's that coming from? Maybe Blackmagic needs to add a proper lens mount first. Canon EF mount isn't it anymore. L mount is free to license and adapts everything. I agree, Dennis. I think the EF mount is still the most popular one, just given the fact that in terms of the larger productions, yes, the owl mount is more adaptive and gives you more use cases compared to a lot of people in the prosumer and the sub $10,000 range. But if you go above that, when you start looking at the reds, you'll start looking at ARRI. ARRI's the only alternative to PL or LPL from ARRI is EF. They don't offer an L mount option. The only one that maybe have it is like Sony, but that's with their own Venice with the E mount. So if you're looking to do large scale projects that maybe you have an Alexa on board, EF is going to be the better. EF is going to still be the in terms of a mount to cover if it's EF or PL. But I think Blackmagic just needs to move to an interchangeable lens mount on all their cameras, even their pocket cameras. Just give an interchangeable lens mount. Not now being capped to an EF is going to kill them, but I don't think the EF is going anywhere. Just simply because the higher end cinema cameras still use EF glass as an alternative to PL. So James, the other James, what's up? James, do you think this will lead a price drop for the original Mavo LF? Yeah, I don't see why not. You got an updated body. Um, you got an updated body. You got better ergos. It's still not as good as the Edge series, but it's better ergos. You have um, you yeah, it's a better design, better it's better quality controlled in terms of a design feature. So I I would be I wouldn't be shocked at all if the price dropped of the original LF. What do you guys expect? How long a company like Kinefinity needs to prove itself before people take it seriously? It needs to get, it needs to just get into the hands of more professional people. And that, look, it took. Let's be clear. It took Black Magic years, almost a decade, for people to really take Black Magic seriously. And some people still don't. But a lot more people are willing to bring Black Magic cameras onto professional high-end sets. I think once people start realizing how, I think there's two things that's going to happen that will make it will make it easier for Kinefinity to start be taken seriously. The first is the fact that its color science is eerily similar to Ares, like very eerily. Like if you ever get a chance to get some sample footages of either the Mavo LF or the Edge, you can even go on ArtGrid. ArtGrid has like stock footage that is from the LF and the Edge cameras. If you were to just drop in the Airy color space LUT or just go into a color space transform and put log 3C and the Airy color science, it's very eerie how close the Kinefinity cameras match the Airy. Very, very similar looking. Now, they don't obviously have the latitude performances of Airy. They're like, at the very least, 2, if not 3 or 4 stops, especially with the Super 35 one. They're like 2 stops behind the Aries. But if you were to want, what I'm trying to get at is the Kinefinity cameras, if they get seen as, hey, I don't need to pay for another Airy camera. I could just use a Kinefinity camera, and if I'm not dealing with like a super high latitude scene where I'm really, really pushing that latitude and I need more than 12, 13 stops, which most professionals really shoot, professional sets shoot at a 10 stop basis, I may just consider getting like one of the Edge cameras because it's an easier thing. And you can still match it up, and it still has the 12-bit 444, so you can still line it up that way as well. The second thing that I think will ultimately help it is if whenever these cameras get Netflix approved. I think there's a firmware update that's supposed to be coming that that once a certain feature is implemented into it, they may be able to get their certification from Netflix for being approved on their approved list. Which again, if you're not being commissioned by Netflix, if it's not a Netflix original, the list doesn't matter. But for some reason, still today, people still take that Netflix list as like the benchmark for true, like authentic cinema cameras for some reason or another. But I think those things will help. It's like people will see that as like, oh, Kinefinity, okay, let's take a look at Kinefinity. I think those things, once it gets into more hands and people see how close it cuts to an Alexa, and also if they get on that Netflix approved list, which again, if Netflix ain't producing it for the original series, it doesn't really matter. Okay, it was mentioned in the Pro AVT review, Infinity has the same numbers for the XH2S and 14-bit. Okay, so that's interesting. So if that is the same, so it looks like it is the same sensor. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for that. I must have missed it in the Pro AV video. That makes the Super 35 one super interesting, and that makes it a very interesting, because now it has the potential to be the best latitude performing camera, which would be awesome. The L mount is not a free to license. It's not open source. They have to pay to be part of it, but it is an option. Yep. Yeah, no, 11 milliseconds in open gate. That is really nice. Really, really nice. So let's see here. So yeah, I agree, Loud, and yeah, it looks super interesting. Uh, he says I don't need another system yet. I've been eyeing it. Like I've been trying to find a camera that fits like our company, but that Mavo S35 may actually be the camera we might actually look at. Looks like you guys are conversating, which is good, 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 good. So basically, Kinefinity uses log C V3 color space, kind of. To be fair, Blackmagic Gen 5 is also quite similar to it. Very true, very true. It's just, yeah. The only reason why I say it is because it's like, it really is like eerily similar to the Airy color space, or at least log C3. Um, there's just, I think there's some things with the like yellows and the orange aspects of it that seems to be off. But it's like, tweak here, tweak there, tweak here. It's pretty much an identical match. Somebody did it. I think, and I actually, it was either Gaffa or it was somebody else, but somebody basically showed the Edge 8K compared to an LF, and they took the same shot and then they matched the 8K Edge to it, and it was like literally like moving like yellows and some oranges, and that was literally it. Kinefinity already looks more legit on a set than Blackmagic's plastic football. Wow. Shots fired, Brian. Shots fired. In fairness, the Ursuline is close to competitor, though. Yeah, no, I think that's where these cameras are going to, especially the Super 35 one. Even the LF version. I think that is going to be what's going to determine this. Like, can you imagine a S35 14-bit ADC film camera for $4,000 with a proper image processing? Insane. Could not agree with you more. Could not agree with you more, man. If that is the case, we have a new player on the block. We have a new player on the block, and the world is going to get very, very interesting. Very, very interesting, and I can't wait. Looks like comments are down, so let's. I'm going to see if there is something else that popped up regarding Kinefinity. I think they're the only ones. Yeah, they're the only ones. Let's see if I can see any more of Cine D. Yep. So I'm on the Cine D website. They're pretty much giving us the same features. All right. I don't know if I will be able to. Can we magnify this? Let me try to. Let me try to find this. All right. All right. So here's the full list of specs that we got here. So this looks like this is the LF. So this is the LF version. So you'll be shooting 6K open gate up to 48 frames a second. If you go to the 2:4:1, you can go up to 75. 17:9, you can go up to 60 frames a second. 5.7K, 2:4:1 is still 75 frames a second. If you crop into, it looks like the max output frame rates, if you go into the wide mode, is Super 35. But, and this is some of the cool things that comes with the Mavo, you get to shoot full, if you don't want to use the full frame open gate, you can downsample the open gate to 3.8K, so you're still getting the full width of the sensor, just now in a oversampled resolution. And the other ones you get it in 6.5. You could get oversampled 6.5, oversampled 4.3. You get the gist. And now they got a Super 35. It looks like the maximum Super 35. If you go to 4K 2:4:1, it's 140 frames a second. So I would love to ask you guys, What do you guys think would be the better option for you guys? If you guys were looking at these two cameras, which one would be the best option for you? Would you go with the Super 35, which looks like it's going to have the much newer sensor of the whole lineup, but it will only go up to Super 35 4K up to 96 frames per second? Or do you go with the Mavo LF Mark II, or the Mavo Mark II LF, however they name it? You get that it's using a little bit older, still a good sensor, still a solid sensor. But you get 140 frames a second in 241 Super 35 4K versus 96 with the Super 35 version. Which one would you go with? I would love to hear. So it looks like, yeah. And if you go, it looks like 241 in the UHD, UHD, it's 150. And then if you go to, it looks like other samples. So if you go to, looks like Micro Four Thirds, you can get up to 195 frames a second. And if you go to, looks like Super 16, you can go up to 290 frames a second. By the way, all of this I remind you, all of this is in 12-bit 444 ProRes HQ, which, by the way, I think only Zcam and then the Komodo. Well, no, I don't even, the Komodo can't even do that. No, actually, none of them, because they're all 10-bit. They're all the ProRes 10-bit ProRes. None of these. Let me say this again. None of the other cameras can do 12-bit 444 ProRes outside of the Blackmagic Ursus. I think they're the only ones that can actually do that. That has that recording option, and that the fastest one is obviously 4K. Was it 4K 120 with the G2 from Blackmagic? It's the G2, 4.6K up to 120 frames a second, which is still pretty impressive. All right. Hey man, thank you. Hey Brian, I know he's probably left already, but Brian, thank you for coming by. I really do greatly appreciate it. I think Blackmagic, especially the 6Ks, Ursa and 12Ks, are still a force to be reckoned with. You can't beat internal RAW. I do agree to a certain extent. Like, look, RAW is just great to have. It's a great thing to have when you can just get all your shots lined up, especially if you're doing multiple shoots and you need to have everything looking similar. RAW is absolutely great to have. And internal RAW, he's right. I'm not a fan of external recording, especially external recording RAW. If you guys are familiar with my channel, you know my issues with external recording. So internal RAW, totally agree. But I've also realized that I don't rely on RAW as much as I thought I would, or at least as I used to. For me, like right now, I'm not shooting RAW. When I'm doing my vlogs, I'm not even shooting in log. I'm shooting on the Canon C70, and I'm shooting in the Kevin 709. So everything is baked in when I do my vlogs now. But that's just because the image is just really good, and I know how to handle and manage my exposure. So it's funny how you got all the tools that you have, but as soon as you start learning and you start getting better, you start realizing sometimes you just don't need all that. But internal RAW is hard to beat. Now, again, I do know they're supposed to be coming with Cinema DNG, which I will say this, Cinema DNG is a better RAW codec than Blackmagic RAW. Now, I know a lot of people will debate me, say it's not as good. There's been shown to be noticeable differences between Blackmagic RAW and Cinema DNG. There's just issues in terms of trying to deal with a certain pattern that when you're trying to deal with compressed Cinema DNG. But Cinema DNG is a great quality RAW codec, and supposedly Kinefinity is going to be putting that in there. Looks like you guys are conversating. Yeah, no. So I've seen a friend of mine who, acquaintance of mine, has the 12K. I've seen shoot on it. The images on it look great. Yeah, it's a camera not many people talk about. So Dennis says the S35 for me. At least it comes with the 14-bit readout, which is true. Agree about RAW. I just need proper 10-bit log. I can still adjust my white balance and exposures like raw footage in a scene referred workflow. And B-RAW is just processed 12-bit with metadata. Agree. Totally agree with everything, Dennis, you said. Yeah, I miss Cinema DNG on the Blackmagic cameras as well. Cinema DNG is if your camera cuts off retains what was shot. True, very true. And Fritz, thank you for joining, man. Thank you for joining. So I'm gonna put this out. Let's see if there's something else interesting. Let's see here. Shows both cameras support 3 flavors of ProRes, which is 422 HQ, 444, and 44 XQ, which are the two 12 bits. They both shoot open gate. They use the Kinefinity 3. Yep. Yeah. So, and let's pull up the looks like it's the Super 35, Mark II Super 35. So we got 2 SDIs, which is great. We got timecode still. We got DCN. We got sync. We got Wi-Fi. So there's still a lot of great in and outs ports. So I'm glad there's at least 2 SDIs. So because that's one of the things about my camera that I kind of wish with the C70 is the fact that it had SDI. It's the one thing that I would say if the C70 had it, I would consider it the perfect camera. Yeah, it's I/O protocols. So let's look at the back. And this is one of the things I really love about Kinefinity is the fact that they find cool ways to integrate. So if you haven't seen them, they got a cool way of battery power. So you got a V-mount option battery, which they have right here, but you also could use Sony BP. You could use the BP batteries as well. So if you can use the V-mounts for like long takes, but then you could also use the BPs. You can use the BP batteries when you want to maybe throw this on a gimbal to slim down the weight. If these bodies are very similar to the Edge, their MoveCam has a cage system that allows you to use 2 Sony NPF batteries at the bottom of the camera that if for some reason like your main V-mount battery, like your V-mount or your BP battery dies, it will swap the battery to those Sony NPM batteries, which I believe if you have 2 fully charged in there, it runs for like 45 minutes to an hour continuously. But that still gives you enough time to just go in, get another battery, and swap. So a great battery solution in terms of design. This looks very interesting. The way I'm very curious of how because this looks like this could potentially be problems in terms of support, but it's got you can put the new kitty mounts on them as well. Yeah. And of course, $4,000 for the S35 is $6,000 for the LF. All right. Additionally, offers a new Agile Pack bundle for both models. It retails for, I already told you. So it comes with a carbon fiber top handle. It comes with the 5-inch touchscreen monitor display, 299 kitty bat batteries, and then a 1 terabyte Kitty Nano SSD. So, basically, like I said, a startup kit, ready for you to set up and ready to go. Also, you can get. Also, what's cool about the SSD ports that they have is the fact that if you get those MV.2, whatever the name, the ME.MV. Whatever the name of the SSD, you can buy your own, and I think they're like couple hundred bucks. And then all you have to do is just buy the shell case from Kinefinity, and I think that's like $200. for the showcase, and then you buy your own, and you can go out and buy your own and use them. Now, you obviously have to make sure that they're compatible, but I think that is a great option. Because think about it, with you get a Super 35 3.2 open gate camera that can shoot up to 96 frames a second and looks like it has a 14-bit readout, so probably better latitude performances. Got a whole kit set for $6,300, which is only like $300 more than just a body red Komodo. So I'm gonna just finish up some. I'm gonna finish up some here. Let's see here. More people should ask Cine D for a lab review of the S35 Mark II. This would definitely help clearing things up. I agree. I'm pretty sure they're going to try their best to get their hands on the S35 since it is the most accessible of Kinefinity's line of cameras. But I definitely hope they will. Trevor, what's up, man? Did I miss it? Did I miss everything? Yeah, but I'll just run it. Yeah, pretty much. And I think I'm going to start wrapping up soon. I've been streaming for an hour. But essentially, Kinefinity is going to release two Super 35 cameras. Two new city cameras on the more affordable end. They're basically upgrades to their Mavo Super 35 and their Mavo LF. They don't have certain features. Like, I think the biggest clutch, and I think we all agree, the biggest clutch or the biggest doubter is the fact that there's no electronic in these cameras, which is a real shame because that was one of the best things about the Edge line. So, and there's only one card slot, so you're still going to need NDs with that. So you're still going to need NDs with this camera versus the Edge line. The Super 35 will be able to shoot 6K up to 96 frames a second. The LF is going to be able to shoot 6K up to 75 frames per second, but that is a full frame. But that will be a full frame cinema camera. And pricing for the Super 35 version is $4,000 just for body only, $6,300 for the startup kit. And then the LF is going to be $6,000, and it's like I think it was $8,300. Yeah, $8,300 for the startup kit for the LF. But that's the gist of it, Trevor. And I think I'm going to, because it looks like the chat's slowed down, and I've caught up with chat. I think I'm going to end the stream. I'm gonna definitely try to get a video to get my thoughts on this. But I think, overall, I think Kinefinity is going to raise a lot of ears, especially people who maybe have been looking at the Komodo. I think the Komodo will still win a lot of people because Red has that name. It has that name. It has that Red Code RAW, that RAW workflow. But if it looks like the sensor, from what it looks like, the sensor of the Super 35 one looks to be the same as the Fuji camera, which means there's definitely a possibility that the Super 35 will have better latitude performance and possibly truly be a baby Alexa 35. I think this is going to raise a lot of people's eyebrows, and I think it's going to get a lot of people's attention. I just wish it had the ND filter. That is such a bummer. But anyways, that's it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And again, thank you guys for joining the stream. Make sure to keep up with the channel, hit the subscribe, and hit the likes before you hit it out. So, YouTube knows I'm actually doing stuff that people actually like and enjoy. But as always, until next time, take care, everyone.